All right, quick story time of how I almost threw away my whole music production career off of making this one big mistake. I remember in 2013, I made a beat for an artist, and his A&R was actually at the studio. His A&R was at the studio, and at the time, the artist was signed to, I believe, Atlantic at the time. I think it was signed to Atlantic at the time. And his A&R came to the studio, and I played this particular beat. And I played the beat, and the A&R was like, yo, I need to get this artist on here. And at the time, the artist was Cap G. And Cap G had a huge single out at the time with Chief Keef. And he was like a really big Mexican artist during that time, really up and coming. And then he made like his big single a few years after that. But before that, I ended up making this beat, and he ended up coming by the studio, and he ended up recording to the beat. So a few months go by, and I'm like, okay, what's kind of going on? And then the guy who I was working for at the time, he was like, hey, they want to use the beat. They want to use it for like a little single to put out. So, we'll take care of everything. We'll get everything in motion. So I'm like, all right, cool. So during this time, Christmas rolls around. And mind you, I needed some cash. I ain't gonna lie to you. I needed my money. And at the time, I think it was gonna be like a $5,000 advance or something like that. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm doing the numbers. I'm like, okay, 5 bands, I'm gonna make sure I give 20%, to the guy, my mentor and everything. So I can go ahead and make sure he's straight or whatever, and then the rest will come back to me, because that's what it's supposed to be like. So we started talking around about like late October, and then going into November, I'm like, okay, stuff should be moving, right? So contracts and everything come over, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. Like, I'm ready to get this thing going. We get the single out, boom, 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 start making some money. Because I like to move fast. That's the way I am. With everything I've done, I like to move fast and get everything out the way, because I don't want to hold anything up. So the A&R was like, hey, yo, what's kind of going on? Like, I'm talking to what's the name? We're trying to get everything rolling so we can go. We need to get the files. Let's get the files and everything. So I'm like, all right. So I go to my mentor and I'm like, hey, man, we need to get these files. And then he's like, nah, don't send the files. Do not send the files, which the files were the beat stems at the time. So the beat stems, pretty much, if you send them beat stems out, it's pretty much over. Like, they have full control over the situation. So I'm like, okay, well, everybody knows each other. We're all cool. Like, this is like not, this is homeboy stuff. This is all good. We all know each other. We've been in the studio drinking and everything, having a good time, and, everything's all good. He's like, don't send those files. Wait for me to tell you to send those files over. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So next Christmas is rolling up, and I'm like, I need to get this bread, because I had enough money to take care of my bills. But I'm like, shoot, extra couple $1,000s can really help out for Christmas, So comes time for Christmas, he's like, yo, we're going to get everything straight. Let me just do what I need to do. Now, me, I'm thinking, hey, man, yo, like, what's going on? Like, we need to get this bread. And basically what was going on is my mentor was pretty much trying to set up an overall play, not just a single play. He was trying to set up a play to where we just weren't going to do just a single. We were going to try to do multiple songs with multiple artists from the label at the time. So, it's more of a chess play. It wasn't a checkers play, it was more of a chess play. But I wasn't getting it. I'm like, yo, I need to get my bread, which, hey, I made this beat. Let me get my bread, and then we can figure this out later on. So as time goes on, I'm waiting. I'm like, man, forget this. I'm finna send these beat stems. So I send the beat stems over. Because I'm like, come on, I'm finna get this bread, and I'll break you off, and then we can just figure all the rest of this stuff out. So I send the beat stems and everything, and then everything just goes quiet. And I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, why everything is going quiet right now? And then come to find out, man, I get to the studio, And my mentor's like, yo, why in the hell did you send those files? I'm like, they're just beat stems. I'm like, what do you mean? I need to get my money, bro. I'm over here. He like, no. He says, man, that little $5,000 could have easily been $400,000 or $500,000 if we would have played the situation right. I'm like, what do you mean? He was like, you worried about this little bit of $5,000? He was like, bro, you were going to make more money in the long run. But I'm like, yo, I need money right now. And then he asked me, he was like, are your bills paid? I said, yes, they're paid. He was like, is everything straight at the crib? I'm like, yeah, everything's straight. Everything is cool. You know what I'm saying? It's good. He was like, so what you need the money for? I'm like, well, I'm trying to get the money to buy some extra presents, some extra gifts for the kids. And they're like, do you need it like that? Because at the time, it wasn't not for my kids, but for my daughter. I only had one at the time. He was like, do you really need that much right now? And I was like, nah, but it would have been good to have it. He was like, it was going to be there plus more. He's like, now that you sent the stems, they have the leverage now. We can't even negotiate anything at this point. And I'm like, so I'm like, okay. But I'm like, well, you know, we all cool. He's like, yeah, we all cool until business starts. And that was my first eye opener to the business side of production, because everything got quiet and the song never came out to this day. Because what happened is the guy who I sent, which me and him are cool, everybody's still cool. What happened was he got a bad vibe from our side, and our side, I guess, got a bad vibe from what was going on. And basically he was like, yo, once I get this one feeling of things not going right, he's like, I back all the way off. He's like, if you ever get a feeling where you think things ain't going right, I completely just back all the way to F up. And this is me talking to, you know, the A&R, or I think he signed them directly, I believe. We signed them directly, and then they went through the label. And I was like, dang. He's like, yeah, because it was like everybody wasn't moving the right way. So once things started moving kind of weird, I just kind of get on out the way. So I'm like, so I'm not going to get no money? You know what I'm saying? And he was like, nah, we're going to go with a different record. Because everybody needs to move as one, and it just wasn't the right type of thing. In which he was cool. He kind of gave me a good explanation, but then my mentor, he was like, nah. He's like, I was trying to set up a bigger play with that situation. You were too busy worried about the short-term money rather than the long-term money. And as much as I hated to hear that at that time, he was actually right. Even though I wanted the money, I did not need the money. And if I would have understood the play a little bit better, then maybe I would have gotten a lot more at the time, but it would have been a little bit later on. But I still wanted my money. I ain't gonna lie. I still wanted my money because I needed my money. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I understand how music business works. And what you have to understand, as for all you musicians out here, sometimes all quick money ain't great money. A lot of times it's not great, because a lot of times, even if you did get money and it was quick, and, you know, you did do certain things like, you know, pay off certain bills or buy certain things you needed at that time, all that quick money ain't great money, because it's going to be in your hands and pretty much essentially gone with the next bill or with the next thing that happens. Now, if you're kind of staying afloat and you're kind of doing your thing, and, you know, and you're making some good money, and or you got a good job that's paying you whatever, and you might have something out there that could be, you know, making you some money right now. You got some beats or something out there that you probably could sell, or you got some nice lyrics and you might can write a song, and you might can get into some rooms, or, you know, and use your writing ability to get you somewhere. Sometimes you're not going to want to get a quick payoff, because a lot of times if you get a quick payoff, that means that you might be hindering your blessing for something a little bit bigger, and you seem very thirsty at that point. And at that time, I seemed super thirsty at that time, and it just was not right for me to do that. But then, you know, it taught me huge lessons to be patient. Like, you have to be patient when it comes to this stuff. and you don't have to always rush things all the time. Like rushing the money sometimes is not the best thing. It's not the best thing at all. And I've learned that throughout the years now, and I try to tell this to artists and just musicians, period. Like, do not rush your blessing, because I know a lot of you guys right now, I'll never sell a beat right now if nobody's not paying me. I'll never go to the studio if nobody's not paying me, this, that, whatever. Well, look at a lot of these writers out here. A lot of these writers don't even get paid. Like, no upfront money. There's some that do get an upfront fee, but a lot of these writers don't get paid anything upfront. They have to wait for the publishing and everything else to get paid after the song comes out and recoups and all this stuff like that. And hopefully it's a big enough record to do that. But at the end of the day, you know, we have to look at it in the sense of you can't not block bigger blessings for a small check. And I know a lot of times I would, like, when I first started out, now if you're first starting out and you're just trying to sell beats or whatever to get started, that's cool. You know, do that. Do what you got to do to survive. I ain't gonna lie, if this is what you want to do. But if you have a steady income and you got a job or you got a job or anything like that, and you're pretty much steady, you might not be where you want to be, but you're steady and you're cool. Don't take small crumbs from people, because what's going to happen, number one, is it's going to force you to look thirsty, number one, and then people are not going to treat you the same way. If I'd have went into that situation like, hey, no, we're just going to take our time with it. Let's just make sure that everybody on all sides is agreeing on everything, and I'm cool. I'm not sweating it. If I would have took it in that route right there, they would have treated me totally different, and they would have known that, oh, this little bit of money is not going to faze him like that, even though it probably was phasing me internally. But you got to play it in a way and in the sense that where they look at you and like, oh, he's not even worried about that. And if I would have just played it that way, I think that I would have gotten a bigger blessing, which in the end of it all, I still ended up getting a bigger blessing because that situation went away. And I think about it all the time. It's like, man, what if I would have got that $5,000? Would that have been like a butterfly effect to where it would have threw everything off that happened past that? Because you got to think, I made my biggest record past that. I had my biggest producer run past that. And now I'm sitting here talking to you guys on YouTube. And now, like, on my big channel, on my main channel, I do all these, beat reviews, and I do all this reviews of production gear and everything. And I'm kind of regarded as a YouTuber now. And I'm a platinum producer. I take care of my family. I do all of this stuff full time. Will that have changed my whole trajectory to where I'm at right now? And it's kind of glad that it did happen, because at the end of the day, I didn't make anything. And then, at the time, it was like it seemed kind of messed up. But when I look at it right now, I'm glad it did happen, because it forced me to kind of had to go through it a little bit. And it taught me that I was still okay, because guess what? Christmas was still good. It was actually great that year, except for, I had an artist I was working with that died that year. But other than that, Christmas still went good. Had a great time. I still survived. All the bills and stuff were paid. I ended up having kids the following year, my twins the following year. I ended up making my biggest song. And then what it did was, when I made my biggest song, I didn't rush things. I made sure things kind of went a natural way. And even though we made the song in that December of 2014, it didn't really like hit the masses until like March of that year. And then we didn't get signed until May. And then from that point, I didn't really get my biggest like pub deal until that following year, following months after that. I got it like November that year. And then from there, everything has just been like steamrolling since then. It's still very good to this point right now. So, a lot of times you might want to go ahead and check yourself sometimes when people say, hey, let's go ahead and move fast. Let's go and do this. Here goes some money for you, and let's go and get this done. Because at the end of the day, you could be setting yourself for a bigger play if you just be patient. And I want to tell a lot of you guys right now, I know some of y'all have been struggling. And like me, like you got to think, I didn't get my biggest record until 7 years after I moved into Atlanta. And I had a lot of highs and lows while living here and doing music, okay? And mostly lows, okay? Because every time I thought something's gonna come out, something happened or this, that, whatever. Then I had a few little songs that hit the radio and it was cool or whatever. But it was a lot more lows than it was highs. But when I did reach the highs, they were high highs. So I'm telling you guys right now, just be patient, because not every small check is going to be the check that you may need. Sometimes you got to just be patient. Sometimes you got to trust the process. And if you're good, you're going to remain good, because a lot of people who are good are the type that are not scared to go out here and work, or they're not scared to go out here and put in some extra work. It's the ones who are like, don't want to work and don't want to do anything. And it's just like, oh, we just about music and this, that, whatever. And just magically it's going to pop off. No, you have to get out here and work somewhere. I was engineering at the time, so I had some engineering money coming in. I was doing a few beats on the side for people or whatever. So I made things work. Okay. And at that time I had a partner that was, helping out too. So we're doing 50-50. Everything was cool. But at the end of the day, not all quick money is good money. Sometimes it might be some stuff where you might want to make you a quick $500-$600 for a project. That's cool. But if it's going to put you in a situation where people look at you different as in the industry, that will mess you up. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I could have really messed up my face card by making that move. And I wasn't thinking. And that's what one thing my mentor told me is like, one thing that you don't want to mess up out here is your face card out here. And this is going to be another video that we talk about later on down the line. But I almost messed up my face card with a few people. But I'm glad that everything worked itself out. And I'm glad I'm here right now telling you guys this story. And I'm glad I'm just kind of letting you guys, kind of understand what I went through. But I want to hear from you. I want you guys to tell me, did I do the right thing? Or if I didn't? And I want you guys to tell me if you've been in a situation like that and you came out successfully after it. Did you panic? And then once, you kind of got your feet down on the ground, you kind of thought like, okay, I'm good. Okay, I can make this work. And then later on down the line, it still worked out. I want you guys to let me know in the comment section if you've been in a situation like this or anything similar to it. I want you guys to let me know. But yeah, man, don't panic out here. Don't panic like how I did. Don't make any sucker moves out here either, because it can ruin your reputation. And I'm glad mine wasn't ruined at that time. Luckily, I was close to, both of the parties at the time, so everything was good. So yeah, man, all fast money ain't the best, okay? Do what you got to do, but make sure you save your face, because sometimes that's all you got.